3 in the morning, and I'm wide awake in my garage, pretending to fix a turntable that died sometime during the Clinton administration. The irony isn't lost on me. Just like my marriage, some things are beyond repair. But you keep tinkering anyway, hoping for a miracle that'll never come. My name's Matt Harlow, and I've got insomnia like other people have hobbies. Used to be an audio engineer before the industry decided it preferred computers to people who actually knew what they were doing. Now I'm a freelance AV tech, which is a fancy way of saying I set up microphones for people who have more money than sense. The garage door creaks, and my wife Sienna slips in like she's defusing a bomb. Her blonde hair's mussed, lipstick smeared, and she's wearing that guilty expression I've seen more often than I care to admit. Matt, what are you doing up? Her voice has that careful quality, like she's walking on eggshells made of dynamite. Just thinking, I say, not looking up from the turntable. Funny thing about insomnia, gives you time to notice stuff, like how you haven't worn your wedding ring in 3 weeks. She touches her bare finger reflexively. I told you! I'm getting it resized. Right, at 3 a.m. Makes perfect sense. Sienna's always been beautiful in that high-maintenance way that screams expensive problems. Event planning suits her. She's got a talent for making everything look perfect on the surface while the foundation crumbles underneath. Kind of like our marriage now that I think about it. You're being paranoid, she says, but there's something in her voice. A tremor, maybe. Or guilt. I finally look up, giving her my best innocent smile. Am I? Because Mrs. Eldridge texted me earlier, said she saw you kissing someone in a blue Audi, but that's crazy, right? I mean, who drives an Audi in Maine? The color drains from her face like someone pulled a plug. That old bat doesn't know what she's talking about. She's probably losing her mind. Probably. I turn back to the turntable, but I'm watching her reflection in the chrome. Still, makes you wonder what else people see when they think nobody's looking. She leaves without another word, and I sit there in the silence, surrounded by broken electronics and the ghost of better times. The thing about being underestimated is that people tell you the truth without meaning to. They think you're too stupid, too trusting, too whatever to connect the dots. They're wrong. My phone buzzes. Text from Derek, my old friend who went from cop to private investigator when the force got too political for his taste. You still up? Got something you need to see? I text back, on my way. The lucky crab sits on the edge of downtown Portland like a barnacle on a ship's hull, ugly, stubborn, and somehow essential. Derek's waiting in our usual booth, nursing a beer and wearing that expression that means someone's about to have a very bad day. Tell me, I say, sliding into the cracked vinyl seat. He slides a manila folder across the table. Your wife's been busy. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, the works. All legal, all public record if you know where to look. I flip through the pages, and it's like reading the obituary of my marriage. The Eastland Park Hotel every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 2 months. Always the same room, always paid for with our joint credit card. There's more, Derek says. The guy she's meeting? Colin Vance. Trust fund baby, drives a blue Audi, thinks charity work makes him Gandhi. Colin Vance. The name tastes like copper pennies. Wasn't he at Sienna's company Christmas party? The very same. Married to some pharmaceutical heiress, but word is he's got a gambling problem that would make Vegas blush. I close the folder and signal the bartender for a whiskey. So my wife's sleeping with a degenerate gambler who's married to money. That's actually perfect for her. What are you going to do? Nothing stupid, I say, which is probably a lie. But Sienna wanted excitement in her life. I think it's time I gave her some. The thing about revenge is that it's like audio engineering. Timing is everything, and if you rush the mix, the whole thing sounds like garbage. So I take my time, watch, and learn. Sienna's got a routine now. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, she tells me she's meeting clients or scouting venues. Instead, she's at the Eastland Park Hotel, room 412, with Colin Vance. I know because I followed her there last week, camera in hand, feeling like the world's most pathetic private detective. But I got what I needed. Photos of them in the lobby, her hand on his chest, his mouth on her neck. Nothing explicit, just the kind of images that would make a divorce lawyer smile and a marriage counselor reach for the tissues. The irony is that Sienna's always been terrible at keeping secrets. She leaves receipts everywhere, uses our shared laptop for her personal email, and has the password discipline of a toddler. It's like she wants to get caught, but she's too narcissistic to admit it. I'm in the garage again, supposedly organizing my equipment, when she comes home from another client meeting. Her hair's perfect, makeup fresh, But she's wearing different earrings than when she left. Details matter when you're living with a liar. How was your day? I ask, all innocent concern. Exhausting. The Morrison wedding is turning into a nightmare. The bride wants ice sculptures in July, and the groom keeps changing the music list. She's good at this. I'll give her that. The lie comes naturally, wrapped in just enough detail to sound believable. But I know the Morrison wedding isn't until October, and they finalized everything months ago. Sounds rough. Maybe you should take a vacation, get away from it all. Something flickers in her eyes. Hope, maybe. That's not a bad idea. Lila mentioned this spa in the Bahamas. Lila, Sienna's best friend and partner in crime, a social media influencer who treats other people's business like her personal entertainment network. If anyone knows about Sienna's affairs, it's Lila. You should go, I say. You deserve it. She kisses my cheek, and for a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. That night, I'm at the Lucky Crab with Derek, planning my next move over cheap beer and cheaper wisdom. You could just confront her, Derek suggests. Show her the photos, demand the truth. And then what? She cries, promises to change, and we go to couples therapy where she learns better ways to lie to me? I shake my head. No, if Sienna wants to play games, let's make them interesting. What did you have in mind? Ever hear of the Streisand effect? Try to hide something, and you just make it more visible. I pull out my phone and show him Sienna's Instagram account. She's got 3,000 followers, mostly clients and wannabe socialites. Very image-conscious crowd. Derek grins. You're going to out her publicly. Not exactly. See, the beautiful thing about social media is that people destroy themselves. You just have to give them the right stage. The plan starts small. I create a fake Instagram account. Nothing dramatic, just a generic name with a stock photo. Then I start following Sienna's friends, liking their posts, building a digital presence. Social media archaeology, Derek calls it. Within a week, I've got access to a network of gossip that would make the CIA jealous. Lila posts everything. Her breakfast, her workouts, her thoughts on reality TV. But buried in the comments and tagged photos, there's gold. A picture from last Thursday. Lila and Sienna at some wine bar downtown, both looking guilty and giggly. The location tag shows it's 3 blocks from the Eastland Park Hotel. The timestamp shows it was posted an hour after Sienna was supposed to be in a client meeting in South Portland. I screenshot everything. The next Tuesday, I follow Sienna to the hotel again, but this time I'm not alone. Mrs. Eldridge, our 70-something neighbor with the surveillance instincts of a retired spy, has agreed to help. She's got her own grudge against Sienna, something about property lines and garden gnomes, and she's been waiting for an opportunity like this. There she is, Mrs. Eldridge whispers, pointing through the hotel lobby's floor-to-ceiling windows. With that Vance boy, shameless. We watch as Sienna and Colin get into the elevator, his hand on the small of her back, her head thrown back in laughter. It's intimate in a way that makes my stomach turn, not because I'm heartbroken, but because I'm watching my wife perform happiness with someone else. Mrs. Eldridge takes photos with her phone. She's surprisingly good at this, while I record video through the window. Nothing illegal, nothing invasive, just 2 people in a public space acting like they're in love. What now? Mrs. Eldridge asks. Now we wait, I say. Good revenge is like a fine wine. It gets better with age. The thing about living with a cheater is that they start to believe their own lies. Sienna's gotten sloppy, confident, almost daring me to catch her. She leaves her phone face up on the counter, takes calls from clients that sound more like pillow talk, and comes home with that satisfied glow that has nothing to do with event planning. So when she announces she's going to a networking event on Thursday night, I decide it's time to crash the party. The Eastland Park Hotel has a bar on the ground floor, one of those dimly lit places where businessmen go to feel important and tourists go to feel sophisticated. I'm nursing a whiskey in a corner booth when Sienna and Colin walk in, her arm linked through his like they're starring in their own romantic comedy. They don't see me. Why would they? In Sienna's mind, I'm home watching Netflix and feeling sorry for myself. The invisible husband, too boring to be a threat. Colin's exactly what I expected. Tall, artificially tanned, wearing a suit that costs more than my car. He's got that effortless arrogance that comes from never having to worry about money, never having to work for anything that matters. The kind of guy who thinks charity galas make him a philanthropist. They order champagne in a hotel bar on a Thursday night. It's so cliché, I almost laugh out loud. I pull out my phone and start recording. Nothing dramatic, just 2 people having drinks. But the way they're touching, whispering, laughing, It's the kind of intimacy that doesn't happen between business associates. Matt? I look up and my blood turns to ice water. Lila's standing next to my booth, her expression caught between surprise and panic. What are you doing here? She asks, but her eyes are already darting towards Sienna's table. Having a drink. What about you? I was just meeting someone. She's a terrible liar, almost as bad as Sienna. You should go home. Sienna's working late tonight. Is she? I gesture toward the bar where Sienna's now sitting on Colin's lap, feeding him olives. Looks like she's working pretty hard. Lila's face goes white. Matt, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I stand up, pocketing my phone. The question is, what are you going to do about it? She doesn't answer, but I can see the calculation in her eyes. Lila's always been jealous of Sienna, her success, her marriage, her ability to make everything look effortless. Now she's watching her best friend destroy it all, and part of her is enjoying the show. Tell me something, Lila. How long has this been going on? I can't. 6 months? A year? Longer? She looks like she's about to cry. Since last Christmas, the company party. They met at the bar, and she said it was just flirting, but then it wasn't. She loves you, Matt. She's just confused. No, I say, walking past her toward the exit. She's just selfish. There's a difference. I don't confront them that night. Instead, I go home, pour myself a real drink, and start planning. Because the thing about people like Sienna and Colin is that they're drawn to drama. They thrive on the secrecy, the risk, the feeling that they're getting away with something. So I'm going to give them all the drama they can handle. The next morning, Sienna comes down to breakfast wearing yesterday's clothes and a guilty smile. You're up early, she says, pouring herself coffee. Couldn't sleep. You know how it is. I'm reading the newspaper, the picture of domestic normalcy. How was your networking thing? Boring. Lots of talk about vendor relationships and seasonal trends. She's good at this, weaving truth into lies until even she believes them. I should have just stayed home with you. Next time, I fold the paper and look at her directly. By the way, I ran into Lila last night. She seemed upset about something. Sienna freezes, coffee mug halfway to her lips. Upset? About what? She didn't say, but you know Lila. Everything's a crisis with her. Yeah, Sienna says, but her voice is tight. Everything's a crisis. That afternoon, I get a text from Derek. Parking garage, downtown. 1 hour, come alone. I find him on the 3rd level of the harbor garage, leaning against his car like he's waiting for a pills deal to go bad. We've got a problem, he says. Colin knows you're on to them. How? Lila. She called Colin this morning, told him about last night. Now they're panicking. I should be angry, but instead I'm almost impressed. Panic makes people stupid, and stupid people make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? Derek grins. The kind that involve threatening the wrong guy's husband. As if on cue, a blue Audi comes squealing around the corner, tires screaming against concrete. Colin gets out like he's auditioning for an action movie, all swagger and manufactured rage. You son of a witch! He shouts, striding toward me. You think you can spy on us? Threaten us? I think you're confused, I say calmly. I haven't threatened anyone. Lila told me what you said, about making us pay. I look at Derek, who shrugs. Apparently, Lila's got a talent for creative interpretation. Here's what's going to happen, Colin continues, getting close enough that I can smell his expensive cologne. You're going to forget what you saw, forget what you think you know, and let Sienna be happy for once in her miserable life. Or what? Or I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of loser she married, the failed engineer who can't even keep his wife satisfied. It's a good threat, delivered with the confidence of someone who's never had to back up his words with action. But Colin's made 2 mistakes. He's underestimated me, and he's forgotten that Derek used to be a cop. You done? Derek asks, stepping up beside me. Colin looks at him for the first time, taking in the scarred knuckles and the expression that suggests violence is always an option. This doesn't concern you, Colin says, but his voice has lost some of its edge. Actually, it does. See, Matt here is my friend, and when someone threatens my friends, I take it personally. What happens next is beautiful in its simplicity. Colin, realizing he's outnumbered and outclassed, tries to back down gracefully, but his foot catches on a concrete parking curb and he goes down hard, tearing his expensive suit and scraping his palms raw. Derek and I don't help him up. We just watch as he struggles to his feet, dignity draining away like air from a punctured tire. Stay away from my wife, he says, trying to salvage some authority. Your wife? I laugh. Colin, you're married to pharmaceutical money. Sienna's just your midlife crisis with better legs. He gets back in his Audi and speeds away, leaving rubber and the smell of burning ego behind. That went well, Derek says. Better than I hoped. Now he's going to go straight to Sienna, tell her I'm dangerous, and she's going to have to choose between her comfortable lie and an uncomfortable truth. And if she chooses the lie, then I'll make the truth impossible to ignore. Sienna comes home that night like a storm front moving in from the Atlantic, all dark energy and barely contained violence. She finds me in the kitchen making dinner like nothing's changed, like her whole world isn't about to collapse. We need to talk, she says. About what? I don't look up from the pasta sauce. Your networking event? How's that seasonal trend analysis coming along? Cut the crap, Matt. Colin told me what happened. Colin? I turn around, giving her my best confused expression. Who's Colin? The mask slips then, just for a second, and I see the real Sienna underneath. Calculating, cruel, absolutely certain that she's smarter than everyone else in the room. You followed me, she says. You've been spying on me. Have I? That's a pretty serious accusation. I turn back to the stove, stirring the sauce with deliberate calm. I mean, if I was spying on my wife, I'd probably have evidence. Photos, maybe. Video. The kind of stuff that would hold up in divorce court. She goes very still behind me. You wouldn't what? Divorce the woman who's been cheating on me for months? The woman who's been using our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms where she screws her boyfriend? I finally turn around and the look on her face is worth every sleepless night. Why wouldn't I? Because you love me. I loved you, past tense. What I feel now is something else entirely. She tries tears next, the full performance, complete with trembling lip and mascara-streaked cheeks. It's impressive, really. If I didn't know better, I might even believe she was sorry. It was a mistake, she sobs. I was lonely and you were always working, and Colin was just there. Colin was just there with his trust fund and his gambling debts and his complete inability to keep his mouth shut. What do you want from me? I'll end it. I'll never see him again. What I want, I say, turning off the burner and facing her completely, is for you to understand that actions have consequences. You wanted excitement? Congratulations. You're about to get more than you bargained for. She stops crying immediately. What does that mean? It means I've got a wedding to work this weekend. The Pemberton Walsh affair out in Cape Elizabeth. Big society event, all the right people, your kind of crowd. So I'm the AV tech. I control the sound system, the microphones, the whole setup. I smile, and it's not a nice smile. Funny thing about audio equipment, sometimes it picks up signals you don't expect. Cell phone conversations, for instance, private messages, the kind of intimate communications that two people might share when they think nobody's listening. The color drains from her face. You didn't. I did. Hours of it, actually. You and Colin planning your little rendezvous, talking about how stupid I am, how easy it is to fool me. My personal favorite is the one where you're discussing what you'll do with the house after you divorce me. She lunges for my phone, but I step back, keeping it out of reach. The beautiful thing about digital files, I continue, is how easy they are to copy and share and play over a professional sound system in front of 300 wedding guests. You're bluffing. Am I? Want to find out? She backs away from me like I'm radioactive. You're insane. You can't do this. Actually, I can. It's all perfectly legal, just playing some audio files at a wedding. Public performance, fair use, all that good stuff. I'll call the police. And tell them what? That your husband has recordings of you cheating? I'm sure they'll be very sympathetic. She runs then, grabbing her purse and keys, fleeing like the house is on fire. I hear her car start, tires squealing as she backs out of the driveway too fast. I finish making dinner and eat it alone, planning my next move. The Pemberton Walsh wedding is exactly the kind of event Sienna would kill to plan. Old money, older traditions, and enough social media influence to make or break reputations. The ceremonies at some estate in Cape Elizabeth, complete with gardens, a view of the ocean, and enough security to make the Secret Service jealous. I'm there early, setting up the sound system and testing the microphones. The bride's family has spared no expense. Professional lighting, multiple camera angles, live streaming for relatives who couldn't make it. It's the kind of setup that would make a Hollywood producer weep with envy. Derek finds me adjusting the main speakers, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. You sure about this? He asks. Too late for second thoughts now. I plug in my phone and test the connection. Besides, Sienna made her choice. She could have ended it quietly, filed for divorce, split everything down the middle. Instead, she decided to double down. What do you mean? I show him the text messages that came in last night after Sienna's dramatic exit. Screenshots from Lila, who's apparently decided that loyalty is a luxury she can't afford. The messages are from Sienna to Colin, sent after our kitchen confrontation. She's not backing down or apologizing. She's escalating, planning to accuse me of misuse, emotional manipulation, maybe even violence. Painting herself as the victim and me as the monster. She's going to destroy you, Derek says, reading over my shoulder. She's going to try, but here's the thing about nuclear warfare. Mutually assured destruction only works if both sides have something to lose. The wedding guests start arriving around 4, a parade of designer dresses and inherited jewelry. I recognize some of them from Sienna's Instagram, clients, social contacts, the kind of people who treat other people's misery like entertainment. At 5:30, I get a text from Mrs. Eldridge. They're here, both of them, parking lot behind the catering tent. I excuse myself and walk around to the back of the estate, where the catering staff is setting up for the reception. Sure enough, there's Colin's blue Audi, and there's Sienna, dressed like she's attending the wedding as a guest instead of crashing it as a cheater. They're arguing about something, voices raised just enough to attract attention from the catering staff. Colin looks like he hasn't slept, and Sienna's got that manic energy that comes from burning bridges and calling it progress. I take out my phone and start recording. Told you this was a mistake, Colin is saying. We should have just disappeared for a few weeks, let him cool off. And let him ruin us? I don't think so. Sienna's voice is sharp enough to cut glass. Matt's always been weak. He won't actually do anything. He threatened to play our conversations at the wedding. He's bluffing. He doesn't have the balls. That's when I step out from behind the catering truck, phone in hand, smile on my face. Hello, darling, I say. Fancy seeing you here. The look on Sienna's face when she sees me is worth every humiliation, every lie, every night I lay awake wondering if I was going crazy. It's pure panic, the expression of someone who's just realized they've been playing chess with a grandmaster while thinking it was checkers. Matt. Her voice is barely a whisper. What are you doing here? Working. You remember work, right? That thing some of us do to pay for hotel rooms and jewelry and all the other expenses of modern adultery? Colin steps forward, trying to reclaim some masculine authority. Look, we can work this out. Nobody has to get hurt. Hurt? I laugh, and it echoes off the catering trucks like a clap of thunder. Colin, the only thing that's going to get hurt today is your reputation. Well, yours and Sienna's. And maybe your marriage, but I'm pretty sure that was already dead. You can't do this, Sienna says, but she's backing away, looking for an escape route that doesn't exist. Actually, I can. See, that's the beautiful thing about being the AV tech. I control what everyone hears. And in about 10 minutes, when the bride and groom are taking their vows, the sound system is going to experience a little technical difficulty. I hold up my phone, showing them the audio files queued up and ready to play. 2 hours of your greatest hits, the planning sessions, the postcoital pillow talk, the detailed discussions about how you're going to frame me for domestic misuse so you can take the house and my savings. I smile. My personal favorite is the one where you're laughing about how pathetic I am, how easy it was to fool me. That one's going to play really well to this crowd. Colin makes a grab for my phone, but Derek materializes beside me like a guardian angel with anger management issues. I wouldn't, Derek says quietly. This is extortion, Colin blusters. No, this is consequences. Extortion would be if I asked for money to keep quiet. I'm not asking for anything except the pleasure of watching your world burn. Sienna tries a different approach. The wounded victim, the woman driven to desperate measures by a cruel and neglectful husband. Please, Matt, I know I hurt you, but this will destroy us both. Is that really what you want? What I want is for you to understand that I'm not the weak, stupid, boring man you thought you married. What I want is for everyone to see who you really are behind that perfect smile and designer clothes. Think about this, she pleads. These people are my clients, my friends. Your clients will find other event planners. Your friends will find other entertainment. But you'll find out what it's like to be the person everyone's talking about for all the wrong reasons. The wedding march starts playing from the main sound system, which means I need to get back to my position. The ceremony is about to begin, and I've got a show to run. Last chance, I tell them. You can leave now, quietly, and maybe I'll reconsider, or you can stay and see how this plays out. They look at each other, and I can see the calculation in their eyes. Sienna's weighing her options, trying to figure out if there's still a way to win this game. Colin's just trying to figure out how to minimize the damage to his own reputation. You're making a mistake, Sienna says finally. The mistake was trusting you. Everything else is just cleanup. I walk back to the sound booth, leaving them standing by the catering trucks like actors who've forgotten their lines. The ceremony is beautiful, exactly the kind of fairy tale wedding that Sienna used to dream about when we were first married. The bride's radiant, the groom's nervous, and 300 guests are witnessing the beginning of what everyone hopes will be a lifetime of happiness. I wait until the vows are finished, until the rings are exchanged, until the officiant asks if anyone has any reason why these two should not be joined in marriage. That's when I hit play. Sienna's voice fills the garden, crystal clear through the professional sound system. God, Matt is so pathetic. He actually believes I'm working late. I could probably bring Colin home and he'd offer to make us drinks. The reaction is immediate and devastating. 300 heads turn toward the sound booth, then toward Sienna, who's standing frozen by the catering area like a deer in headlights. But I'm not done. Colin's voice comes next. When are you going to leave him? I'm tired of sneaking around like teenagers. Soon. I just need to set things up right. Maybe claim he hit me or something. Judges always believe the woman in domestic cases. The garden erupts. Guests are pulling out phones, recording everything, posting to social media in real time. The bride looks like she's about to cry, the groom looks confused, and the wedding photographer is capturing every moment of Sienna's public destruction. I let the audio run for another minute, just enough to establish the scope of their deception, the calculated cruelty of their plans. Then I cut it off and grabbed the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the technical difficulties. Please enjoy the reception. But nobody's thinking about the reception anymore. They're all staring at Sienna, who's trying to disappear into the crowd, but finding no sanctuary among people who now know exactly what she's capable of. Colin's already gone. I see his Audi speeding out of the parking lot, leaving Sienna to face the consequences alone. So much for true love. Mrs. Eldridge appears at my elbow, grinning like she's just won the lottery. That was beautiful, dear, she says. Absolutely beautiful. I got it all on video. Post it everywhere, I tell her. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the whole digital universe needs to see this. Sienna makes one last desperate play, pushing through the crowd toward the sound booth, mascara streaming down her cheeks. You've destroyed everything, she screams. Everything we built, everything we had. Everything you threw away, I correct her. I just made sure everyone else knew about it. Security, hired by the bride's family to keep crashers out, finally intervenes, escorting Sienna off the property while she shouts threats and accusations that nobody believes anymore. I pack up my equipment slowly, methodically, while the wedding reception continues around me. The bride and groom have recovered from the shock and are trying to salvage their special day. The guests are buzzing with excitement, already composing social media posts about the most dramatic wedding they've ever attended. Derek helps me load the truck, shaking his head in admiration. Remind me never to cheat on my wife, he says. Good policy. Though I doubt you'd be stupid enough to leave evidence everywhere and then threaten the person you betrayed. What happens now? I look back at the estate, where 300 people are dancing and drinking and talking about what they've just witnessed. By tomorrow, the story will be all over social media. By next week, everyone in Portland will know what Sienna Harlow did to her marriage and what her husband did in return. Now she learns what it's like to be the villain in someone else's story. We drive back to town in comfortable silence, past the hotel where Sienna used to meet Colin, past the office where she used to plan other people's perfect days, past all the places where she thought she was getting away with something. The Lucky Crab is crowded for a Saturday night, full of locals who've already heard about the wedding drama through the small-town gossip network that moves faster than fiber optic cable. Matt! The bartender raises his glass. Heard you put on quite a show today. Just doing my job, I say. But I'm smiling. The regulars buy me drinks, slap me on the back, tell me stories about their own cheating exes and the revenge they wish they'd had the courage to take. I'm a hero here, the guy who stood up for himself and made the bad guys pay. It feels good. Better than good. It feels like justice. Around midnight, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. I show it to Derek, who shrugs. Sienna? Probably. Or Colin. Doesn't matter. I delete the message without responding. They had their chance to end this quietly. They chose drama instead. And now they get to live with the consequences. Sienna's career is finished. No one's going to hire an event planner who can't keep her own life from imploding in public. Colin's wife will divorce him and take half of everything he never earned. And me? I raise my glass to the bar, to the regulars, to the whole small-town ecosystem that's embraced me as one of their own. I get to start over, clean slate, no lies, no cheating wife, no trust fund boyfriend making threats in parking garages. I take a long drink. Some people RSVP for a happy ending. Some just get what they deserve. The bar erupts in cheers, and I know that whatever comes next, I've won this round. Sienna wanted excitement, wanted drama, wanted to be the star of her own romantic comedy. Instead, she became the villain in mine. And unlike her fairy tale ending, mine is real.